Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to go through my top 5 thrifting tips if you are new to thrift shopping or just want tips for when you are thrift shopping. So I basically thrifted exclusively in 2018 rather than going in shops. There were a couple things that I did get as major buys last year in terms of like underwear and stuff, and so underwear definitely don't recommend doing that thrifting, and they often don't have underwear to their credit, but that's the one thing. Undergarments I definitely don't thrift. So today we're going to go through my top 5 tips that it makes it a little bit easier for those of you getting into thrifting, so you know what to do and see kind of how I potentially get some of my buys. It could be obviously that I'm just lucking out, but considering that I go about maybe once a week and have pretty good luck, and I think it's partly not luck and it's potentially what I'm doing, so I thought I'd share those tips with you. So I've been taking friends and they've been pointing out the things I've been saying, so I have collated them into my top 5 tips. So we'll get into those tips and we're going to get into the haul that I got when I went shopping today. So firstly, the most important tip I honestly think that you should bear in mind when you're going thrifting is to wear comfy clothing. So the reason for that is because firstly, thrift shops don't always have somewhere to try things on, and so it is really important to try and wear something like a tight-fitted tank top or singlet, often a skirt if you want to potentially try on shorts right in the middle of the store or pants right in the middle of the store. And then the other thing that I often wear, because the ones I go to often do have change rooms, is I often wear a simple dress that I can just easily lift straight off and easily try on various layers of things. The more layers you have, the more annoying it is. Obviously to take off the layers is the same as regular shopping. And then for thrifting, it's the one extra bit where you may not have the ability to try things on in the changing room, if there even is one, and so it definitely is handy to be able to put things over top of whatever you're wearing. So thrift tip number 1 is basically just be mindful of what you're wearing. Make sure it's comfy, make sure it's easier to either put things on top of to try things on, or easy to take off so that you can so you can try on things pretty easily. So tip number 2 is, as Kitty jumps onto here, tip number 2 is know your size. So I'm not saying you have to know what your size is in every brand. I vary from size to size depending on where I shop. So in US sizes or Canadian sizes, I could be anywhere between, you know, a 2 to a 6, depending on what store I am. I'm typically a 4, but it just depends. In Australia, using Australian sizes, I'm typically an 8, but I could be anywhere between a 6 to a 10, depending on what brand it is. So knowing your size is important in the sense that if you're not very good at eyeballing items of clothing and knowing what you can wear, that's a good way to check as well, to make sure you're not just needlessly trying things on, because it can obviously become slightly disheartening if you keep trying things on and nothing fits you. So I've gotten pretty good at just seeing if things look like they're my size, but definitely if you are just not even a frequent shopper in general and just have no idea what your size is, the first thing I do for people who want to go thrifting with me is I often take them to a couple of regular stores and give them a few things to try on, just so I can kind of see firstly how things are fitting on them and what kind of size they generally are, so it's easier for me to thrift for them. So know your size. Tip number 3 is check out the neighborhoods that you're looking to thrift in. So obviously for more wealthy neighborhoods or more trendy neighborhoods, you might find more things if you're into designer labels or if you're into more trendy items. And so depending on where you go, you might find different things from different thrift stores. So I tend to have certain neighborhoods I prefer to shop in because they tend to have things that I like based on, you know, what kind of thing that I'm looking for. So know your neighborhoods, check out reviews on thrift stores and things like that. And you might be able to kind of make your thrifting experience a little bit more successful, especially if it's a new area you've never been to. Tip number 4 is basically don't be afraid to shop the entire store. So I do not exclusively get my stuff from the women's section, for example. I get them from the kids section, I get them from the men's section. It's more about keeping your eye out for colors that you like. And so I'm really, really lucky, and I love sparkly things. I do not care what it is. If it's sparkly, I tend to like it. I also like unicorn, for lack of a better word, unicorn shades. I like, you know, shades of blue, pastel pinks, purples, and so those are my kind of color palettes that I tend to be drawn towards. And then anything sparkly on top of that. So I have a pretty easy time eyeballing things and scanning pretty easily. Scanning, I think, honestly comes a honed skill over time, because you start to, rather than going through one thing, you know, each and every item one by one, that obviously can make people can make people slightly disheartened with the process, because there's a lot of stuff and it's often not always organized in the best way. There are really good thrift shops that are either really well organized by size or really well organized by color. I find both really helpful, but for the ones that are not, it can obviously be so frustrating to just kind of look at every single thing and find so many things that you don't like. So scanning is your friend. Scanning all sections is the way to go. So don't be afraid to go into the men's section. It's more just keeping an open mind to get the kind of colors or sparkly things that you like. And finally, tip number 5 is, when you're actually thrifting, check zippers and check buttons and check for stains, because those are the 3 things that are the most common problems, I would say, for thrifting. I tend to be extremely lucky because the thrift stores I go to are so good about checking the quality of the stuff that's being donated, and so even if I know it's my right size, I will just check the zipper and make sure. I'll actually physically try it on and check that the zipper goes all the way up, because often a lot of people, you know, end up thrifting or donating rather what they have because they can't get the zipper to work the way it's supposed to, or the buttons are either fallen off or whatnot and they just don't like it anymore. And so for those of you who are not keen seamstresses or whatnot, I'm not either, but I can at least fix a button. I could obviously easily, you know, remove all of the buttons and then put all of them on there so that they're the same. Sometimes you even luck out, and even if there is one missing, it comes with that little extra one that's sometimes sewn into the clothes, and you can just use that. So check your buttons, check your zippers, and then check for stains, because the stains are a very common thing that people do donate things with stains on them, and because they couldn't get it out or didn't want to, you know, go through the steps that are involved to try and get it out, they'll often donate for that reason. Like I said, I've had really good luck with thrifting. I've not really had major stain issues, but I have had a couple zipper issues where I didn't check, is where I had the problem. Or button issues where I was like, I'll sew that on, and then I never do. So just be careful of those things, because that's honestly the only other deterrent I'd say there is for thrift shopping. So now that I've gone through all those tips, I hope they're helpful. I really hope you have luck with thrifting, because my 2019 goal, I think I'm going to just basically exclusively thrift. I have my stockpile of underwear from last year's epic haul, which I'll make into a video, but I pretty much almost exclusively buy from thrift shops anyway, so I figured I might as well just make that my thing and just keep doing that, because I don't need anything from real stores. And as today's thrift shop haul will show you, I would much rather get this pile for $32 total rather than get like one item for $32, because I like the variety, I like the options, I like that if I don't like it anymore, I can, you know, resell it, or, you know, give it back to the thrift shop and someone else can enjoy it. I like that much better than, you know, having, you know, one really expensive like $50 item or $100 item, because then I feel so guilty that I have to wear or get more use out of it. And I just like this ability to just wear things, be happy with what I'm wearing, and be happy that I got it for like $5. So I will get straight into the haul, and we will see the very epic sparkly finds that I found.